All right, so we have our starting point here. Do I have I have my activity main. Here's my design. Okay, so it currently looks like this. And we kind of designed this here, right? So we decided we'd have a little add exit button. Um, on here, so that would add an exit to the existing room we're in. Now, did I, let's see, in Dungeon Builder, add a new add exit button on each room that takes you to a new screen that allows you to create a brand new room and associate it with an available exit. Then save that room. Upon saving, the room is added to the local copy of the dungeon and can be tested by using your exit buttons. Then each room page should have a save button that overwrites the database with the new version of the dungeon, such that the next time you launch Builder or the original app, it shows this new dungeon. Okay, so let's get the local thing working first. So we'll add a add exit button to the top that will allow us to add an exit to the room we're currently in, right? Then we'll deal with the save. Let me check something here. Takes you to a new screen that allows you to create a brand new room and associate with an available exit. Okay, yeah, good. The easy version. This was really hard?
This was the only part that I actually had to do.
Oh, okay. What was the hard part then?
The difference between the dungeon builder and the other one, and how to connect the two, and then once you're on your second screen, not connecting it with the other screen, because I could do that, but using the same functions from your main activity.
Okay. Let's get the height to wrap content. And then I'm going to add a button in here. And this is going to be add exit. I'm going to have the width wrap content like that. You can always flip-flop these two if you want it to look just like my my thing. Why is everything else gone? Layout height should wrap content. There we go. All right, so now we have our button in here, and we want to go ahead and add our handler for that button in our main activity. I'll go into main activity, create our public void add exit button pressed view V. All right, let's go ahead and hook that up in activity main. So we'll click on our button. We'll go down to on click, on add exit, button pressed. All right, I want to test this real quick just because I'm always a little leery about that guy working. Whatever. Let's run this. You graced us with your presence. Take a couple weeks off? Really? I haven't seen you in a while. All right, so we'll click add exit several times. And we will go down to logcat, make sure that was getting called. Why don't I see anything?
I feel like that happens a lot where you do it and you can't see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's relaunch it. Oh, shouldn't. So let me just do this. Let's kill Android Studio. We'll relaunch it. All right, and we'll hit play. There we go. So that guy's working. Okay, so add exit button press should take us to a new screen, right? And that screen is going to look kind of like this guy, where it's going to let us create a brand new room name, a brand new description, north, west, east, south, and a save button. So pretty similar stuff to what we have in here. So let's create a new activity called, I don't know, new room activity. Right click, new activity. Well, why did it hide it over there? It tricked me. Empty activity. And we'll call this guy new room activity. Room activity. Doesn't let you make a new activity? I don't get why you have so many issues with Android Studio. It must not like you. Do you click a lot of random buttons? Do you throw it out of frustration? All right, so let's design this guy. Oh, where's my activity new room? This guy right here. So we're going to have a place for it to, oh, my design is here, for it to enter a name, enter description. So we probably want to kind of label those things. So I'll give myself my vertical linear layout in here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put a text view up here.
Didn't you want to do an edit text?
Yeah, but I'm gonna give it like a title, like add, something like that. I guess you could just put it as the hint. Is that what you did? You added the hint for it for put new name. So I'm gonna say new room name, something like that. Except that's not where I want it. I want it here. New room. Huh? Oh, yeah. Third time's a charm. All right, and then let's make the text a little bigger and make it bolder and make it lean over. All right, new room name. And then we need our edit text. Is that under widgets? Or is that these? Oh, that is these guys. So we're going to read in some plain text. It's going to be our room name. So this is room name ET. So enter room name like that. And we'll take out the current text. Very nice. Why did it just put that random crap in there? right. So that's that. Then we're going to have new room description. So I'll copy this guy, drop it there, drag it here. New room description. All right. Then we'll do the same thing with our edit text. And this is going to be called room description ET. Enter room description, and we can change this. Can we make the just a taller thing here? So we'll do that with it, and we'll say enter for the hint, enter room description. And let's set the gravity in this guy to top left. That'll work. That way we have kind of a box to fill the stuff in. All right, then we're going to give ourselves our buttons at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to steal that guy. Come in here and paste that guy. Drag that down there. And I'll have the height, wrap content, like that. Okay, so does that pretty much look like what our interface should look like? We need to save button somewhere. The bottom. So now we'll throw a button in. Save. That, and if we want to put a little, do I have a nice little spacer somewhere?
I think you included that on our other screen.
Really?
Yeah, look at that.
I thought there's a space. There is a space. There's a space somewhere. Is it a layout space? Space. I'll do it right there. No, not there. I'm going to do it right there. And then I'm going to set the height to 20. Ha! All right. So now one thing we need to do is when we call, well, let's just get this screen launching first. Make sure we can get here. Now, when we call this screen, we need to make sure we pass in the exits that are available for the previous room. That way we only show the exit buttons that are clickable for adding a new exit. Okay, but let's just get the room showing up first. So we're going to go ahead and back in our main activity, this guy on our add exit button pressed, we'll go ahead and create an intent I is equal to a new intent, passing it this. Passing it this as the context, and then passing it what do I call it? No, I call it new room. New room activity dot class, like that. And then we'll say this dot, was it start activity? Start activity I. Make sure that gets us there. Okay. So we'll say add exit. What's up? Not yet. No, it's fine. All right, so that takes me to this screen. So add exit gets me there. All right, so now we want to make sure that when I click add exit and I go to this screen, since this particular room already has a north exit, this north button should be gone. So I should only have access to west, east, and south buttons. Okay. So we need to pass that information over to that screen. And what I'm going to do for convenience, when I'm in a room, yeah, is P stored in core right now? Where we got, that's our dungeon. So we need to give the players inside of main activity. We have P is a, I'm going to go ahead and put this dot in front of that just because that's what I like. So we'll go ahead and pass the player along with the intent. We could even make an argument that maybe the player should live in core so we can easily access the player from anywhere in here. So if you want to do that, we would just take our private player. Well, let's just cut it from here, go into core, make it public and static. Like that. And then inside of main activity, when we go to set it, it'll be core dot P. And then wherever we use it, core dot. That makes it globally available to any class.
Right. Why did we want to do that?
Because now when I'm over here in my, where's my other guy? My new room activity, I can say core.player and get the player's current room. All right, because when I get the player's current room, that then gets me a room, and a room has a map of exits. And I want to go through that, looking at all the keys and hiding buttons that are found there. Okay. And we can even do this in a nice fun way. So we'll go to new room activity. I'll just create a private void hide buttons. Hide exit buttons, let's call it that. All right, so we want to go ahead and get the existing exits. So we're going to say map of string exit current exits is going to be equal to core.p.get current room.exits. That'll be my map, right? So now I'll have all those exits. And then I want to go through each of those exits. Do we see if we can do a, was it for string key in current exits dot key set? So that'll be the names of all my keys, right? And then what I can go ahead and do is I can say if key dot equals, and we have it in caps, right?
No, lowercase.
It is lowercase? Are you positive? I don't trust you. exits. It's lowercase. All right, so if it equals north, now I need to go ahead and give myself access to my buttons so I can hide them. So in here, I copied them over. This is north button, west button, east button, south button. So I need to give myself programmatic access to those guys in here. So I'll make them global in this class. So private button, say north button, south button, east button, west button. So you can put them all on one line like that if you want. And then down in here, we'll say this dot north button is equal to the button version of this dot find view by, it is a button, right? Oh, I'm not done yet, so it's not happy. All right, and this is r.id.north button. Okay, then I'll steal this line and we'll copy it in here for our other three. 1, 2, 3. This will be south button. This will be east button. This will be west button. This will be south button. East, west. All right, so now I have access to my buttons. So if I find a north button, I'll say this dot north button dot is hidden, is visible, set visibility equal to, what is it, visible, invisible, that. Nailed it. All right. Else if it's south button. Else if it's east. East button. Else if it's west button. Okay, and then on create, we'll go ahead and say this dot hide exit buttons. And then when we come into the second screen here, we should, if I go back, we should have everything but north showing up. So let's make sure that's doing that. All right, add exit. There's everything but north, so that looks good. We do need to have a function for these buttons to call, because when we set the exit, we're going to be toggling what exit we're going to be setting. So let's go ahead and do that some. So I'm going to give myself a public exit button pressed. This guy will take in a view v. He returns void. I'll say button, the button is equal to the button version of v. Let's go hook it up to those buttons. So we'll have all 4 of our buttons call this exact same function. Then we'll ask who the button was that was clicked. That's going to be here, so I'll click on, oh, I can't click multiple guys? North? It's very upsetting. Whatever. All right, on click, this is going to be, that's not my, switch it to none. Then switch it back. What did I call it? I called it exit. Oh, I called it exit button pressed. And this guy is going to be exit button pressed. This guy is going to be exit button pressed. This guy is going to be exit button pressed. Yeah, I just want to see something here real quick. All right. I wanted to see if there was a like a convenient way to like kind of shade it. I was gonna change its background. What about button style?
What do you mean?
Like when I click on one of the buttons for us to change its appearance just a little bit, letting us know that was the button we clicked.
Like the outlines of it?
Something like that, yeah. We can always change the text color. Yeah, let's see if we can do that programmatically. I'm in this room. So we'll say the button dot set text color equal to color dot isn't there like a red? I guess let's try that. See if it changes my text color. Otherwise, I'm not going to mess with that too much. Won't waste time with frivolities. Frivolous things. All right, add exit. Click, ooh. We definitely know what we clicked.
Is it actually red? Because I can't even.
No, it's not red. It's just nothing. It's blank. So this color thing here, let's just look at Android red color program. Whatever. Oh, it's lowercase. All right, so I need to, well, this will let me show you resources. So I'll go into resources. I'll go into, I think it's values. Values. Here's colors. So I need to add a new color. So we'll make it red. Red hex color is that guy. Oh, that makes sense actually. 255 on red, nothing on the other ones. Red, green, blue. So I'll add a color name here. Color name is going to be red, and this is going to be FF. That. Notice it shows me my little color. I could have actually used this color accent guy here too, but I made it red. So now back in here, I can say color dot red. And that should give me a nice red color. Oh, look at that. It puts a little color there. I don't think it's a breakpoint. I think it's actually showing me the color that was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I like it.
Okay, add exit. All right, but now we need to be able to set it back to black. All right, because they're all selected at this point. So,
Should put something to toggle.
we're going to write that.
Yeah, like a built-in function of buttons. You toggle instead
I think black is all Fs, right? Nope, black's all zeros, white's all Fs. Okay. So we'll go back into colors. We'll add a color for black.
There's actually a toggle button. You can use it instead of regular clicker. And then it will give you a hint choice.
Yeah, but I already have these buttons. Plus, then we get to practice some syntax for toggling them, right? It's going to be perfect. All right, so what I will do we will go ahead and say this dot north button dot set text color to this guy, but black. So we'll just do that for all 4 buttons. And then whatever button was clicked will flip to red. All right, so there's west, there's east, there's south. Toggle buttons. This looks beautiful, right? This is perfect. All right, so now we also want to go ahead and select selected button for those guys. So up top here, I'm going to keep track of private current selected button, and it's going to be of type button. We'll start that guy off at null. And then what we'll do in here is we'll say this dot current selected button is equal to the button. We also probably could have just avoided this variable and just set current selected button to this and then use current selected button here, but whatever. Okay, so now after we press that, whatever the final state is, current selected button will hold the button we clicked. Okay, so now do we already have our save button dealy flippy? Okay, we need to write our code for our save button. So public void on save button pressed UV. Okay, go in here, click on my save button. On click, there's that. I need to go ahead and programmatically get my room name, room description, so I have those pieces. Okay. It's in here. Private, one's called, no, they're both edit text, right? Edit text. And we're gonna do name ET and description ET. Then down here, we'll say this dot name et is equal to the edit text version of this dot find view by ID, r dot ID dot name et. Why did I name the text view? Room name et. I like making my variable names match the these guys. This dot room description is equal to the edit text version of this dot find view by ID, r dot ID dot room description, like that. So now I have programmatic access to that. We probably want to check to make sure they actually put some stuff in there if we do want to do a little error checking. So we're going to say if this dot room name et dot get text dot actually, why don't we just put it in 3 variables real quick? So we're going to say string room name is equal to this dot room name et dot get room name et is an edit text dot get text. String room description is equal to this dot room description et dot get text dot toString. And then, well, we'll ask the last question on make sure we selected a button. So we'll say if room name dot length is equal to 0, or room description dot length is equal to 0, or this dot current selected button is equal to null. All lowercase, yep. If any of those things are true, then let's do a little toast. Nope. Is that good? Make text. What's this guy take? Okay, give it. So I gotta give it fill everything out. Really? Oh.
No, just put a comma.
And then the message? No?
Resource ID.
1 second. Toast dot make text. This one, and then duration. So I'm picking this guy right here. So why did I think the autocomplete thing got off? So I'll say this dot, then that, and then duration is, what is it, like toast dot length short, whatever, and then dot show. All right, that's our error message. Else, we're good to go, and we're going to go ahead and create our brand new room. So room R is equal to new room, and what does a room take? Where's my room? Name and description, good. And we have a room name, and we have a room description. Perfect. Then we need to add that room to our dungeon, right? So then we'll say core dot the dungeon dot add room R. Then we need to get int pause core dot the dungeon dot find index of room R. That'll tell us where it's located in there, right? Because isn't that what I need for my exit? When I set my exit in the previous room, I'm not telling it the actual room, I'm telling it the position in there where it leads. So this will get me my position. Now I'm going to go and add an exit to my room. So let's go, well, let's create the exit real quick. So we'll say exit E is equal to new exit, and this takes 2 room indexes. So we're going to need the room index for the room that the player's currently in. So I'm lost. Here, let's call this new room pause. And we're going to call this guy int player room pause is equal to core dot the dungeon dot find room of index core dot p dot current. Oh, he keeps track of his current room index. Oh, we already got it. Perfect. So we're creating a new exit, and this exit's going to go between new room pause index and core dot p dot current room index. That's our new exit. We know our direction is going to be, just out of curiosity, oh, we have an all uppercase, but we want it all lowercase, right?
Yeah.
So we just grab the text and 2 lowercase it?
Yeah, that's what we did.
All right. So then we're going to go ahead and get the player's current room. So that's core dot p dot get current room dot add exit. The direction of this exit is going to be this dot current selected button dot get text dot toString dot 2 lowercase. So that's going to be, I mean, you could have done this differently. You could have said if the button is the north button, then set it to north. If the button is the south button, set it to south. Instead, I'm just peeling the text that's on the button off and then converting it to lowercase to make sure it's my right format. And then, what does this guy take? What's the other piece? Take room index, which is new room index. New room pause. Was that not what he takes?
Isn't that actually-
Oh, he wants the exit. We already have that, so he wants E. This guy. All right, so that will add the exit. So that'll add the exit to the room the player's currently in. The last thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the other activity reloads its fill stuff, whatever. So what we can do here, can we dismiss this dot? Otherwise, we have to rely on hitting the back button. Finish activity. What does this guy return me? The calling activity gives me a component name. That's weird. So we will say this dot finish. That makes this activity end, which should then take us back to the previous activity. And then what we'll do back in main activity, we'll add another life cycle function here.
There is one. It's, if you start the activity for the intent, but
Yeah, you can start it for feedback. You're started for,
Results.
yeah. But actually what I'm going to do here, just so we can look at activity life cycle, I'm going to say on, is it on resume? On restart? That's a fragment activity. I'm just going to do a system.out.println I want to make sure this guy gets called when I come back to this screen one way or another. So I don't know if restart actually is the one that gets called then. So the theory here is that when I go to the second screen and then I come back to this screen, that should trigger the on restart for this guy. And if it does, then I can call fill interface blah 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 from there. But we won't actually have to do this if we update the database in the other one. This will happen for us because we get the update, we get the callback. This could be perfect. What was I doing? All right, so we'll add exit. We changed our mind, go back. Go back in here. Logcat. Oh, whatever. Just since it's going to be done anyways, let me just public main activity, I don't know, first screen. And then inside of main activity, we'll set this core dot. Oh, I need to make it static. So core dot first screen is equal to this. So now I have access to that from the singleton. So then inside of here, when I have already added the room, I can say core dot first screen dot, what is it? What's the name of my function in here? Fill interface. Did I not make it public? Make that guy public so I can access it over there. We actually won't need this in the end, but so we'll fill the interface. What room are we filling it with? Core.p.get current room. That should update it and show our new exit, presumably, right?
Can you pause for a second?
Who?
Can you pause for a second? So you're putting the person in the new room you just created?
No. Person's already in that room. So we created a new room. We added the room to our dungeon. We figured out what the position of that room is after it's been added to our dungeon. Created a new exit with the new position and the room index of the room the player's already in. Then we got the room the player's currently in, added an exit to that room, named this, peeling off the button, passing it the exit we just had. And then what we're doing here is we're saying we're going to go ahead and grab the room the player was originally in. We haven't moved him. He's in the original room. And we're passing that to our main activity. So that's our first screen that's stored in core, passing it to his fill interface function, which takes a room as a parameter and fills the interface with the stuff from that room. That should update with our new exit that we've programmatically added. All right, so let's see what we forgot to hook up. So we will add an exit to the, actually let's go north. So we're in our hallway now. So now let's add an exit to the west. Glare office, danger zone. And we're going to add that to the west. Save. So now we have, from CS hallway, we have an exit back to the south, which is here. Go to the north. Now we got to the west, Locklear office, danger zone, blah, blah, blah. Although I can't, we never created an exit back. So that's interesting. So we need the We really need 2 exits when we build a room.
One from each side.
Yeah. Although, actually, shouldn't that have... Oh, no. We just have to add the exit to the new room. We already... Yeah. We just missed a piece here. We're adding it to the current room, but we also need to add that exit. We need the inverse... we need the inverse string here, so... No, we don't need a new exit. Because the way exits work is when we take an exit, it figures out what room we're currently in and it goes the other direction. So what we ultimately want to do is we want to say r dot add exit, but we need to tell it the direction. It's good if we if we went west to go there, we want to go east to come back. Does that make sense? So here, just to prove it, let's just go ahead and we'll hard code in east for right now, and we'll pass it that exit. We'll create that exact scenario we just created, and we'll see that it'll get us back, and then we'll write the couple lines of code to figure out what the inverse of our cardinal direction is.
Going down the rabbit hole.
All right, so north, we'll add an exit to the, I'm just going to type stuff in here. Add an exit to the west, save. Now I'll be able to go to the west, and now we have an exit going back to the east, which takes us to the CS hallway. All right, so now we need to get our inverse piece here. So what I'm going to do should be a fun little parallel array type thing. So I'm going to say string array directions is equal to north, south, east, west. And then I'm going to create string array inverse directions. And north will be south, south will be north, east will be west, west will be east. All right, and then what we'll say here is we're going to say inverse directions at bucket directions dot, oh, I can't search for, oh, whatever, I'll just write it real quick. Private string get inverse direction. This guy will take in a string direction. I'll put these two guys in there. We're going to find the position of that direction in here and then return that same position in here. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than directions dot length I plus plus. If directions at bucket I dot equals direction, then we'll return inverse directions at bucket I. We should never get here. All right, so getting the inverse direction, we'll pass in a direction. It'll figure out what direction we passed in, where it's located in here, and then return that same position from this array, which is the inverse of all of them. So we'll call our get inverse direction up here. So we're going to add an exit. This dot get inverse direction. Our current direction is, yeah, but it's so much more impressive when you just do this. Here, you want to do that. You want to say string current direction is equal to all that stuff, and then you can say current direction in here, and then you can say current direction in here, and then we're passing it to, we're adding the exit E. Okay, so this should now be generically written to give us the inverse exit.
Missing a semicolon.
Am I?
The string in the current direction. Just like
After two
recently
lowercase.
All right, so add exit. Actually, we're gonna go back here. We'll go north first. Then we'll add an exit. Some stuff to the west. Save. Now we have an exit to the west and another exit coming back to the east. All right, but now what we actually want to have happen is we want to update our database with this updated thing. Every single time we add a room, it should now have, it should hold true up there, because if I run this again right now, our changes are now lost, right? And we put that save button on the main screen. Is that what we did?
yeah, I think so.
So only add exits on the main screen. So we should save every single time we add a new room, or do we? Did we?
On the save.
Oh yeah, we have a save here. So we're going to put a save button down here. That way you can kind of say, okay, I've added a bunch of rooms. I'm happy with it. Save. I mean, it doesn't matter if you saved it each time. That's fine too. But
Is the save button going to be on every page then?
well, it will be, because the idea is that this is our dungeon builder. So whenever you kind of move through the dungeon and things like that, and you're happy with the current state of it, you hit save, and then the dungeon is now has been updated in the cloud. Okay, so what I will do, I think we can do it this way. Let's go back to main activity. I'm going to steal that code we had from before for writing stuff. I'm going to say private, actually, we'll just say public void save button pressed view V. This is back in main activity. So when you hit the save button, I mean, we could always confirm it and stuff, but let's just assume they know what they're doing. We'll go ahead and get our access to our database. Get our dungeon ref. We don't need our temp dungeon push right now, but we will need to know about that ID. We need to get the ID of the dungeon that we read in. So let me do something here real quick. So we're calling our fill interface right now from within this dude right here. So here's our dungeon snapshot, get iterator. Next, this is where we're getting our dungeon class. So what I want to do is I want to do a system.out.println the dungeon dot toString. Let's just look at it there. Actually, can I get the key? Get key. Ha! Hercules. All right, so we have exactly what we. I get too excited?
No. Program is
I know, it's so good. current, actually let's do this. Just so we could possibly do this from any screen. We'll go ahead and say public static int current dungeon. Actually, it's a string, I think. Current dungeon key. All right, and then what we'll do here is inside of main activity, once we get that dungeon key, we'll say core dot current dungeon key is equal to the dungeon dot get key. So that would be the key associated with the dungeon. So then down here, when we go to, instead of doing a push here, we'll say dungeon ref dot, and we could have actually done this as one big line, but we'll just say get reference can't we do that from it's dot child core dot current dungeon key. So that'll point to the exact dungeon that we have, and then we'll set that dungeon to, it's not the CS department because now it's in core, right? Core dot current, or core dot the dungeon. So that'll update the value there with our updated dungeon. And let's go ahead and put our, so does that make sense? So whenever I hit my save button that we haven't put on the screen yet, I'm going to go ahead and connect to the database. Probably could have made these global variables, but whatever. So connect to my database, grab my dungeon reference, which goes to the thing called dungeons, then get the child of that is specifically the key associated with the dungeon that I just loaded, which for us is only the computer science department. And then we're going to set the value there equal to our current dungeon, which we've now modified by adding more rooms and stuff. But we want to make sure that that save button doesn't show up until our we actually get that key, until our dungeon is loaded. So let's go ahead and put the save button in, and we should have just enough time. Activity main. No, it's I'm lost. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and throw a save button down here. Button. Toss it down there. We're going to have this guy say save. His on click will be save button pressed, like that. We'll start off with his visibility set to invisible. Let's actually do this. We'll have it visible at first. We'll turn it off on create. Let's make sure we name this. This guy is save button. Inside of main activity, scroll up. Private button, save button. We'll go ahead and give ourselves access to that. This dot save button is equal to the button version of this dot find view by ID r.id dot save button, and then we'll say this dot save button dot set visibility equal to invisible initially, so we don't see it, but then as soon as we get our stuff here in our listener, we'll go ahead and set our main activity instance pointer save button visibility to visible. Now we should be able to see it, should be able to run it. All right, save button showed up now. We'll go ahead, and we actually really could say only when changes are made do we hit save, but let's just, whatever. So we'll actually go to the north, we'll add an exit, whatever. We're going to add it to the west. We'll hit save. So now I have an exit to the west, back to the east. I decide I'm happy with my dungeon. I'll hit save. The idea is that that should now be a permanent save. So let's go up here. I don't know the answer to that. It did seem to change. Well, we are filling the interface, but we should have filled it with the identical stuff that was already there. Oh, I bet you what happened is the button went invisible, then uninvisible at the same time. But we'll see it a second time here. Let's just make sure our room is there. All right, so if I go north, now we have that exit to the west. This was permanently added to the database. Then we go to the east. Oh, why is it, didn't quite build it. And our players are not leaving there. Did we build our exits wrong? The player's getting added twice. That's why this is happening. We didn't add the player a second time. So what's going on in here is one of the scenes we had, or one of our functions that we're calling, must put the player into that room, but we're also putting them into the room. So we're actually adding them to the room 2 times. So when they leave once, they're still in that current room. So we'll just need to go and figure out where we're actually adding the player to the room twice. I think our structure is actually should be fine. Let's just real quick here in the final seconds look at this, make sure our room changed. We know we're out of time. They owe me a minute. Yeah, here's our new room with the exit, with the east. Yeah, so this guy looks fine. So somewhere we're just adding the player a second time. All right, so does that make sense? Question, comments, concerns, bribes? Huh? I'll put a Bible homework, yep. All right, remember today, student, faculty, staff, Bible study, God and Grub. Go down to the cafeteria, sign in, get free lunch, take it down to the terrace room. I will see everybody on Thursday.